the puppy that saved the playground. Once upon a time, in the cheerful town of Willowbrook, there was a playground unlike any other. Swings soared high, slides shimmered in the sunshine, and laughter rang out like music every afternoon. Children from all corners of the neighborhood gathered at the park after school, racing through the grass and sharing stories beneath the big oak tree at the center of the playground. But among all the happy voices and joyful games, there was someone special who watched over the playground every day. His name was Max, and he was a little brown and white puppy with big floppy ears and a tail that wagged faster than a hummingbird's wings. Max didn't have an owner, but the children loved him as if he belonged to everyone. Each morning, he would greet them with a joyful bark, chasing butterflies and tumbling in the soft green grass. Max's favorite spot was at the foot of the oak tree, where he'd curl up and listen to the children's laughter. Sometimes he'd join in their games, darting after bouncing balls or letting the youngest children pretend he was a horse, trotting gently as they held onto his collar. Every child in Willowbrook knew Max and loved him dearly. One sunny afternoon, as the children played tag and built castles in the sandbox, something unusual happened. A tall, grumpy man with a grey hat and a clipboard appeared at the edge of the playground. His name was Mr. Grizzle, and he was the town's park inspector. He squinted at the swings, frowned at the slide, and shook his head at the sandbox. "I'm afraid this playground is too old," Mr. Grizzle muttered. "It's not safe anymore. I'll have to close it down." The children gasped. Their beloved playground? Closed. They couldn't believe it. The swings, the slide, the sandbox, and the oak tree. How could they say goodbye to so many happy memories? Their eyes filled with tears as Mr. Grizzle marched away, leaving a sign that read, "Playground closed until further notice." The children gathered under the oak tree with Max, who nuzzled each of them, trying to cheer them up. But even Max's wagging tail couldn't chase away the sadness. That night, as the moon rose high above Willowbrook, Max couldn't sleep. He tiptoed through the empty playground, sniffing at the swings and the slide. He didn't want his friends to lose their favorite place. As he sat beneath the oak tree, he remembered something Grandma Willow had once told him. Grandma Willow was an old beagle who lived down the street, and she always had wise words for Max. "When something's broken," she had said, "sometimes it just needs a little love and teamwork to fix it." Max's ears perked up. That was it. If the playground was broken, maybe he and his friends could fix it. But how could a little puppy like Max save an entire playground? The next morning, Max dashed from house to house, barking excitedly outside every window. The children awoke to the sound of their furry friend calling them. They followed him back to the playground, where Max jumped up and down, pawing at the sign Mr. Grizzle had left. "Maybe Max is trying to tell us something," said Lily, the oldest of the children. "He wants us to help," said her brother Theo. "He wants us to save the playground." The children's eyes sparkled with hope. If Max believed they could do it, then they would try. They gathered in a circle and made a plan. First, they would clean up the playground. Every child brought something from home: brooms, dustpans, rakes, and even a small bucket of soapy water. Max led the way, barking encouragement as the children swept leaves, picked up litter, and polished the slide until it shone like new. Next, they inspected the equipment. The swings squeaked and the merry-go-round wobbled. That's when Max had an idea. He ran to the fence and barked for help. Soon, parents, grandparents, and neighbors joined in. Some brought tools, others brought paint, and together, everyone worked side by side. Max carried small pieces of wood and even fetched a lost screw that had rolled under the sandbox. Max's nose was especially useful. He sniffed out hidden cracks and loose bolts that the adults might have missed. Whenever someone fixed a problem, Max would leap in the air, spinning in a joyous circle. All through the week, the playground buzzed with activity. Each day, more friends and neighbors arrived to help. They planted flowers around the oak tree, painted the swing set bright blue, and mended the fence. Someone even built a brand new bench just for Max. Finally, after many days of hard work, the playground looked better than ever. The children were proud, and Max was so happy his tail nearly wagged right off. On the final day, Mr. Grizzle returned to the park, clipboard in hand. He expected to find a broken, empty playground, but instead, he found children playing, neighbours laughing, and Max sitting proudly atop his new bench. Mr. Grizzle was amazed. He walked around inspecting every swing and slide. He checked the sandbox, the seesaw, and the newly painted fence. Everything was safe and sparkling clean.
"Well, I'll be," he said, smiling for the first time. "This is the nicest playground in all of Willowbrook. Who did all this?"
The children pointed at Max, who barked proudly. Mr. Grizzle knelt down and scratched Max behind the ears. "Looks like this puppy saved the playground," he chuckled. "Thank you, Max." From that day forward, the playground belonged to everyone in Willowbrook, and especially to Max, the puppy who brought the whole town together. The children learned that even the smallest friend can make a big difference, especially when everyone works together. And so, every afternoon, the laughter of children and the joyful barks of Max filled the playground once again. The swings soared toward the sky, the slide glimmered in the sun, and the old oak tree stood tall, its roots deep in the heart of Willowbrook, a place where kindness, teamwork, and a little puppy's love could save the day. As the seasons changed, Max became more than just a friend. He became the playground's hero. Whenever a new child moved to Willowbrook, Max was the first to greet them. He'd lead them on a tour of the playground, showing off the flower beds, the painted fences, and the special bench with his name on it. The children would laugh and play, knowing that the spirit of Max, the puppy that saved the playground, was in every corner, every swing, and every smile. On rainy days, the children gathered under the oak tree, telling stories about Max's great adventure. They remembered how a little bit of hope, a lot of hard work, and a puppy's love had turned sadness into joy. And so, the legend of Max lived on, a reminder to every child in Willowbrook that no problem is too big when you face it together, and that sometimes the bravest heroes have 4 paws and a wagging tail. And that is the tale of the puppy that saved the playground. But the story doesn't end there. For in Willowbrook, every day brings new adventures, and Max is always at the heart of them. One day, a strong wind blew down a branch from the oak tree, blocking the path to the playground. Max barked for help, and once again, the children and neighbours came together to clear the way, laughing as they worked side by side. Another time, someone noticed that the sandbox was getting smaller. Max sniffed around and discovered that the sand was slipping out through a hole in the corner. With the help of the children, they patched the hole and filled the sandbox with fresh, soft sand. Each small challenge brought the community closer, and Max was always there, leading with kindness, courage, and a wagging tail. Through the years, Max grew older, his fur turning a little greyer, his steps a little slower. But his spirit stayed as bright as ever. The children, now a little taller, still gathered at the playground every day, and Max was always there to greet them. On Max's 10th birthday, the whole town threw a party under the oak tree. There were balloons, games, and a special cake shaped like a bone. The mayor gave Max a shiny medal that read, "To Max, our hero." The children cheered, and Max barked happily, surrounded by his friends. As the sun set over Willowbrook, Max curled up on his special bench beneath the oak tree, content and happy. He had saved the playground, but more importantly, he had brought everyone together. And in the heart of Willowbrook, the playground was more than just swings and slides. It was a place of friendship, laughter, and love. And so, every time a child swung high into the sky or zipped down the shiny slide, they remembered the story of the little puppy with big dreams. They knew that with teamwork, kindness, and a little bit of puppy magic, anything was possible. And Max, the puppy that saved the playground, lived happily ever after, his legacy shining in the smiles of every child who called Willowbrook home.